George Shores, from my perspective, number one, he's a friend. And number two, I think he was a big part of the history of Baker University. We put him in the Hall of Fame in 1996, but George was a 1954 grad from the football program. He was an all-conference offensive guard, and that was our connection. I'm an offensive line coach at Baker for years with Charlie Richard. So George and I would talk a lot about offense and blocking schemes and techniques and things. So we had a great connection because of that. George was a huge football fan, and he came to a lot of games, and he would always come in on the sideline and get our attention and give us his coaching tips we needed for the game. But great person, and really enjoyed George a lot. One thing that's kind of unique about George is that in an era where it wasn't really, it was just kind of growing, was George got into weightlifting. And he took that into weightlifting that was specific to football. And he took it even further and developed fitness centers. And he ended up creating fitness centers, pretty much all over the United States. A very, very successful business. So, but that was a passion that he had. And as an athlete, it turned into a family business that was very successful.
We were coming down to a playoff game, as we did before. George was not in good shape. I'm not sure Jan really wanted to come to the game. They talked about it, and they decided he's going to go. We got down to the game, and everything was fine. Just after half, George became overcome with blacking out, and we had the MEDAC people right there, and Baker did, and they took him into China Mission Hospital. Don Cusack was with me. We both felt terrible that we were having him come down here and maybe be responsible last time he'd see Jan. I got to the hospital and Jan was there with Sandy, and we went, and Jan said, "Don't feel bad if really something was going to happen to George. That's where he wanted to happen." And then we found out he recovered and went home the next day. And on Wednesday of that week, it's playoff season, and the game here. And I answer the phone, and George says, "What time are you going to pick me up for the game?"
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is family. His family was very important. George and his wife would travel to events together. I know his children, very supportive of them and their careers and their choices. But George was a family man, and not only his personal family, but the football family. That was a family to George as well. He loved the game of football, and he just used that so much in defining his travels and a lot of things that he did. Well, I think Baker, for George, he ended up graduating from, I think, Westport High School here in Kansas City, and that was after moving, I think, from California when he came here. So it was probably a culture shock for him, I'm sure. But I think Baker became his home because his family on the football team, I know he has a lot of friends that they stayed in touch with for years. And so I think Baker provided George with that safe haven that he really needed, really wanted. And also his love of football was a big part of his success. And really, quite interesting, George was very successful academically. He was on the Dean's Honor Roll when he was at Baker. So Baker was a place that George was very successful and provided a loving home for him.
George went to the service and came back. He was going to go to school in California. And he kept talking about how strange things happened. And one of the guys in his fraternity out in California told him that he needed to go down and come back with him to school at Baker. And George said that was the best thing that ever happened to him because he made lifelong friends, dear friends, that gave him all kinds of rewards for coming to Baker. And if you would ask me what it meant to George, it meant the world to George. And what he did for Baker was not something he wanted to brag about. The seats of the stadium, the workout center here, among a few of the things that he did. And he gave more to Baker than anybody that I'm familiar with.
Well, Don and I met through our wives. Our wives were graduated St. Mary's Down in 1955 from Baker. They left from Baker to go to teach their first year in Denver. And then after Don and I both got out of service, why, through our wives, we became friends because we'd go over to their house and they'd come to our house. And we formed a real friendship. Enough so that Don, who was a great golfer, would put up with me on the golf course, and I'd put up with him when we went skiing in Colorado. So Don loved people. He loved Baker University. He was just a man to be loved and a friend of mine.
That is the toughest one of the questions you probably could have asked, but one word I think probably more than anything else would be loyalty. But in saying that, I have to say, well, you know, he was a patriot. He was a Marine, and he was generous as all can be to anybody. If you were his friend, you were his friend for life, and he'd do almost anything for you.
Passionate. He was passionate about my sister. He was passionate about his family. He was passionate about his country, the Marines. He was passionate about his church, his God, passionate about golf, but extremely passionate about Baker University.
You know, when Don loved someone, whether it was his family or his friends, he took care of them. And he did the same with Baker. He took care of Baker through his generosity, through telling the stories about Baker to anybody and everyone who would listen, and through his attendance at every event. I guess that you could liken it to the United Methodist, that through his prayers, his presence, his gifts, and his talents, Don loved Baker University.
It meant everything. He had lifelong friends, as we all have had, who attended school here. Don was very giving, not only to Baker, but to many other organizations. But he believed so strongly in the history of the school, the financial solvency of the school, the faculty, the administration, the students, the alumni, and of course he was very passionate about all athletics, and particularly football. Those were the things that meant the most to Don.
And my favorite memory of Don is a rather sad one. But Don and I have been friends for over 60 years. And I visited him about 2 or 3 days before he passed away. And when I went in, he grabbed his left hand, grabbed my left hand. With his right hand, he brought it up and put it over my shoulder. Said, "Cecil, my friend, Cecil, my friend." And he laid back down. So that's a memory I have and I will have for the rest of my life.
A lot of them, of course, we were golfing buddies. Of course, I know that when he was at Baker, he was captain of the golf team, and I was co-captain of my high school golf team. So we made a good pair. We won the Kansas senior four ball in our age group up at Shawnee Country Club in Topeka. And we were real excited about that because, you know, that means that we beat all the other guys in the whole state. And the next year we
appointed onto the Baker Board of Trustees by President Dan Lambert. And Don had been on the board, he'd been serving for years, probably been chairman of every committee, and had been chairman of the board. And Don, as I would watch, would share with his feelings and his thoughts about different situations. And when I was new, I was just trying to learn and to observe, and I would realize that as the situation was getting closer and closer to probably consensus, I would see Don's hand go up. And for anyone who knew Don, they knew that he was not a go-with-the-flow kind of guy. And so my first thought was, no, there goes the agenda. And Don would start in with his reasons, and usually we would go back and begin talking again. But as time went by and I started forming my own opinions, I learned that, I learned more and more from him. And there was one meeting, and I wish I could remember what the situation was, but when Don raised his hand and shared his thoughts, they were the same as mine, and I was totally shocked. I probably wasn't the wisest thing, but after the meeting, I went to Don and told him how thrilled I was. Oh my goodness, I'd agreed to him, with him, and he probably thought, what took you so long? But you see, what I learned about Don was the fact that he didn't just have an opinion, he had researched everything. If it was about a building, he walked it on campus, he checked it out, he talked to the people he knew. Did we need to have it repaired? What do we need to have done? Was it about the students? What were they learning? He always was researching and pushing us forward into the future with what he felt was the best for students. He just truly, truly cared. He was asked the hard questions, and he was ready to defend them. And so much was learned by being with Don and being in his presence. He truly, truly cared for Baker.